The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the thousand blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. In today's video, I want to talk about the Mother of Dragons, also known as Daenerys Targaryen. As most of you know, Daenerys has been one of the main characters throughout the story, and over the years, she has become a fan favorite for many. For the longest time, her main goal has been to take back the Iron Throne for House Targaryen. This is something that she now believes she was born to do. Now that her dragons are extremely large, and she has a massive army behind her, she does seem to be on track to accomplish this dream of hers. When you actually look at her numbers, she almost appears to be unstoppable. However, there are many fans that do not believe Daenerys Targaryen will survive until the end of the story. In fact, some would say that the show has already foreshadowed her death many times. This has been one of the biggest debates for quite some time. Although the answer may seem clear to some of you, the million-dollar question still remains. Is Daenerys Targaryen destined to sit on the Iron Throne? I would like to think that one of the main reasons why fans do not believe Daenerys will survive is because of the vision she had back in the second season of the show. Now, there are many different ways you can interpret this scene, but one of the most common explanations is it foreshadows the death of Daenerys Targaryen. When she was at the House of the Undying, Daenerys has a vision where she enters the Great Hall of the Red Keep. As soon as she walks inside, we immediately notice the roof has suffered some extensive damage. Some would say that this could have been caused by wildfire, but we have seen what wildfire can do to a building. When Cersei Lannister had the wildfire ignited under the Sept of Baelor, it did not just damage the roof, it actually blew up the entire building. Now when you look at the throne room in Dany's vision, you could see that most of the building is still intact. The only section of the building that seems to have been damaged is at the top, which means the attack most likely came from above. Since we know that Daenerys is not afraid to use her dragons, there is a very good chance at least one of them are responsible for what we see in her vision. We even get some more evidence of this in one of Bran Stark's visions. When Bran Stark goes inside of the werewood net, not only does he see the same thing that Daenerys sees, which is a throne room covered in snow, but he also sees a dragon flying over the rooftops of King's Landing. Now, in my opinion, I have always felt that Daenerys would be left with no choice but to burn King's Landing. That is mostly because I just can't see Cersei ever standing down or running away. I think she will stay in King's Landing and fight till the death. Now, the reason why fans think Dany's vision foreshadows her own death is because of what happens next. After Daenerys looks at all the damage done to the building, she then begins to walk to the Iron Throne, which at this point is completely covered in snow. That could also be another clue that Daenerys was never meant to take the Iron Throne in her lifetime because she was not the next character in the line of succession. The snow falling on the Iron Throne could be seen as symbolism for Jon Snow being the true heir to the Seven Kingdoms. As soon as Daenerys does come face to face with the Iron Throne, she sticks out her hand, that way she can finally touch it, but something happens before she does. When she is just inches away from finally touching the Iron Throne, she stops after she hears the sound of her dragons calling out for her. Now you have to admit that this was very interesting, and you have to wonder if that does foreshadow the ending of the series. We do know that it's only a matter of time before Daenerys attacks King's Landing, but according to her vision, she will never take the Iron Throne. What we see happen next is also very interesting. When Daenerys begins to follow the cry of her dragons, we then enter her next vision. One minute she is standing inside of the Great Hall, then the next minute she is walking out beyond the wall. This time she can see Khal Drogo's tent. When she enters this tent, she finds her dead husband, Khal Drogo, who just so happens to be holding their dead child, almost as if both of them were waiting for her. Now this is another vision that can be interpreted in many ways, but one of the most common explanations is Daenerys will die fighting the White Walkers, then she will finally be reunited with her family. The main reason why many fans believe she will die fighting the White Walkers is because of the location of Khal Drogo's tent. Obviously, it is located out beyond the wall in White Walker territory. That could mean Daenerys will be reunited with them because she dies during the White Walker invasion, or it could just simply be symbolizing winter, as in Daenerys will die during the winter. I have to be honest with all of you, as much as I like Daenerys Targaryen, I cannot deny the fact that these explanations do make a lot of sense. Now, this is not the only reasons why fans believe Daenerys will die next season. Another reason is largely due to the likelihood that Daenerys was impregnated by Jon Snow. If you were able to read between the lines, or if you have seen some of my other videos, then you would know they were foreshadowing this over and over again last season. In fact, there were so many clues that I would actually be surprised if Daenerys was not pregnant next season. I think there were at least 5 different times last season we heard characters discussing Dany's ability to have children. One thing we have heard Daenerys say on a number of occasions is, Daenerys believes the dragons will be the only children she will ever have. We heard Daenerys and Tyrion talking about this last season.
How do we ensure your vision endures? After you break the wheel, how do we make sure it stays broken?
You want to know who sits on the Iron Throne after I'm dead? Is that it?
You say you can't have children, but there are other ways of choosing a successor.
Then, later in the same episode, Dany said the same thing to Jon Snow.
The dragons are my children. They're the only children I'll ever have. Do you understand?
Now, whether or not this was actually true is up for debate. However, I believe that is no longer the case. The dragons will not be her only children. If you remember, there is another phrase that we have heard over and over again. That is, only death will pay for life. Since Daenerys looks at her dragons as if they are her children, then maybe Viserion's death will pay for another life. She might have lost one of her dragons to the Night King, but she may gain another child by procreating with Jon Snow. Ser Jorah Mormont may have even foreshadowed this when he and Jon were having a conversation out beyond the wall.
It's yours. It'd serve you well. And your children after you.
Now, one of the biggest clues was actually when Jon and Daenerys were having a conversation with one another at the Dragon Pit. During this scene, Daenerys once again says, "I can no longer have children." This leads to Jon asking how she knows. Daenerys then says, Mirri Maz Duur was the one who told her she can't have children. So this is when Jon Snow essentially says the same thing that all of us have been thinking. Dany? Did it ever occur to you that she might not have been a reliable source of information? Which basically means that Mirri Maz Duur was full of shit. So, now that I have shown you Daenerys is most likely pregnant, let me tell you why fans believe this means she will die. The answer is rather simple, although I will admit that it's not exactly concrete evidence. Some of you may not know this, but Daenerys Targaryen's mother actually died while giving birth to Daenerys. Not only did Dany's mother die during childbirth, but so did Jon Snow's. This was actually quite common back in those days. So, since Jon and Dany's mothers both died during childbirth, then maybe the same thing will happen to Dany, since she is having a child with Jon. Another thing you have to keep in mind is what happened during Dany's first pregnancy. As we all know, she was able to survive, but there were some major complications. Also, that vision she had at the House of the Undying could have been another hint as well. Maybe it's the birth of a child that reunites Daenerys with Khal Drogo. Unfortunately for Daenerys, these are not the only reasons why fans believe she will die next season. According to legend, as well as Melisandre, when darkness gathers and the long night falls over Westeros, a legendary figure known as Azor Ahai will be reborn again. To fight the darkness, Azor Ahai needed to forge a hero's sword. He labored for 30 days and 30 nights until it was done. However, when he went to temper it in water, the sword broke. He was not one to give up easily, so he started over. The second time he took 50 days and 50 nights to make the sword, even better than the first. To temper it this time, he captured a lion and he drove the sword into its heart, but once more the steel shattered. The third time, with a heavy heart, for he knew beforehand what he must do to finish the blade, he worked for 100 days and nights until it was finished. This time, he called for his wife, Nissa Nissa, and he asked her to bare her breasts. He drove his sword into her living heart, her soul combining with the steel of the sword, creating Lightbringer, the Red Sword of Heroes. Now, many fans believe Jon Snow is actually Azor Ahai reborn, and in order for him to create Lightbringer, he will need to stick his sword into Daenerys Targaryen's chest. Now, I happen to believe Melisandre is Nissa Nissa, but I just thought I should mention that because it is another reason why fans believe Daenerys will die next season. There is one other reason I want to mention before I end the video. This next one is rather simple, and that is, Daenerys could always get betrayed by someone very close to her. As we all know, Daenerys has already shown some concern when she was speaking with Varys on Dragonstone, and you really can't blame her. We all know Varys is one sneaky son of a bitch. However, Varys may not be the only one Daenerys has to worry about. Dany's right-hand man, Tyrion Lannister, has also shown some signs of a betrayal. No matter how much Tyrion and Cersei hate each other, at the end of the day, they are family. And we have heard Tyrion say that he loves his family very much. One of the main reasons Dany should be concerned with Tyrion is because we do not know everything Tyrion and Cersei talked about when they met last season. Say what you want about Cersei, but she is very clever at times, and she knows exactly how to manipulate members of her own family. When Tyrion met with Cersei, the scene ended after Tyrion realized Cersei was pregnant. But what else could they have talked about before that conversation came to an end? Did Tyrion Lannister offer something to Cersei that could endanger Daenerys Targaryen? Like I said before, Daenerys might have 2 large dragons and a very big army marching behind her, but she is not unstoppable. Not only did Bronn show us that dragons can be taken down, but so did the Night King, in a very big way. Daenerys might believe she was meant to sit on the Iron Throne, but if her vision is any sign of the future, then Daenerys may not live long enough to claim the 7 kingdoms for herself. I do like Daenerys Targaryen, and I happen to think that she would make a great queen for Westeros, but I cannot ignore the warning signs either. Let me know what all of you think about the fate of Daenerys Targaryen. Do you think she will finally take back the Iron Throne for House Targaryen next season, or do you believe she will die before the show comes to an end? Leave your thoughts down below in the comments section. I want to thank everyone for stopping by and watching the video. I appreciate that as always, and I also want to thank my Patreon supporters. I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.